This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from ConstructionBusinessAccelerator.com and ConstructionLeadingEdge.com. My name is Todd DeWalt. I'm the host and the founder, and it's my job to help you maximize revenue and eliminate chaos in your construction business and on your job sites. Got a great interview for you today with David Cooper. He is doing some really cool stuff in the Northeast with custom homes and with his personal brand with video. So here's what you're going to get out of this podcast. You're going to learn about how David Cooper and his company, CT Valley Homes, are building custom modular homes, in some cases on islands. He's building large custom modular homes on islands. You're going to hear about some of the details. You're going to learn about some of the misconceptions about offsite construction. You're going to see some of the big picture of like what's happening, some of the big players that are getting into modular or offsite, or there's a couple of other terms you're going to hear that are relatively new. You're going to find out how David survived the 2008 recession as a home builder. You're also going to learn about what he's up to with video, how he has built his business using his iPhone and recording videos. Pretty cool stuff. And then if you want to get started building your personal brand or your company's brand by tapping into video, you're going to get some pretty practical advice on how to get started there. So this is great stuff. A couple of things that I want to get in your hands before we get into the interview. If you are a small business and you are currently doing your own books and you either suck at it or you hate it, and you're thinking, I've got to find a better way to do my books. I don't have good visibility. I don't know if I'm making money. I'm not doing cost coding. All of my accounting, if I have any, is rearview mirror. I hate the idea of taxes. I don't know how bad it is. Then there's a better way. And it doesn't involve you hiring an employee. It doesn't involve you or somebody in your family doing the books for you. There's a better way. It's the Apparatus Contractor Services team. Okay, I partnered up with these folks. I found them over a year ago. I vetted them out, and they do bookkeeping, financial reporting, and payroll for small construction businesses. That's it. That is it. And they've put together a program that makes it a no-brainer. And it frees you up so you can go do high-value activities. If you want to find out more about that, you can do one of two things. One, you can just send me a text. If you're driving or you're not able to look it up, send me a text to 859-667-2015 and just put books in there. And I will hook you up with the Apparatus Contractor Services team. If you want to check them out, you can go to ConstructionLeadingEdge.com/headache. If you want to offload your bookkeeping headaches, you can find out a little bit there, watch a video about what they're up to, and then fill out a form and request some more information from the Apparatus Contractor Services team. But I'm telling you, some of my coaching clients are using them. Lots of other business owners are using them. And if you're doing your books and you either suck at it or you just hate it, and you know you should be doing something else, but you don't want to hire an employee, this could be just the thing. So either send me a text, 859-667-2015 with the word books in it, and I'll make that introduction, or you can go to ConstructionLeadingEdge.com/headache and take the first step toward offloading your bookkeeping headaches. All right, now let's get into the interview with David Cooper. Enjoy. All right, David Cooper, thanks for being on the podcast. How's it going today?
It's going well. I can't complain. You know, finally the sun's shining here in Connecticut, which is always nice.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of rain lately.
Yeah. So we met in Providence, Rhode Island in March 2019, if you're listening to this way in the future. And you've got a really interesting story, doing some interesting work, but also doing some interesting stuff to support your business in the way of video that we're going to talk about. So let's start with this. How would you describe yourself? Yeah. How would you describe yourself? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So, you know, I've been a modular builder. So I've been in the trades for, you know, a little close to 18 years, maybe a little more at this point, you know, always in modular construction, really. But outside of my modular world and supporting the offsite industry, you know, I have a full-time hobby, which is a video entrepreneur. And that hobby itself has kind of taken some legs of its own, similar to your podcast, I suppose. So, so I don't know. I guess I'm an entrepreneur all the way around.
Just can't get away from it. So let's talk about
No.
offsite construction. What is going on in the offsite industry right now that folks who are not as intimately involved with it as you are need to know about?
Yeah. So, offsite industry is growing in leaps and bounds right now. And the major reason for that is because of the trade labor issues, which I'm sure a lot of your viewers could probably relate to. But we really are having a skilled labor trade issue in the field, which is starting to drive a lot more attention to offsite construction. And that's just not on the, single lot builders or small builders, but it's also starting to happen to the big production builders, where they are now starting to look at this. Another example of that is commercial. Commercial has really embraced modular as of late, and over the last couple of years, something everybody can relate to. Marriott hotels, I believe I read something that 30% of all their hotel builds this year will be modular construction. And again, it all comes back to the efficiencies of modular and also the controlled cost and, the not having to have as much skilled labor to do a full site build.
Yeah. What else is going on on the macro level? I've heard stories and little sound bites about really large amounts of capital moving toward offsite, whether that's fully integrated offsite factories, modular factories. But what's going on from a macro level? Are you seeing companies that have not been in the housing industry injecting capital and positioning themselves into modular and offsite? What's going on there?
Yeah, so not only local money, but just from builders or the production builders, but I mean, there's banker money coming into this, investment bankers and so forth, here locally and from Europe. All right, and yeah, there's a ton of money being poured in. A lot of it right now is on the research side. A production builder trying to change the way it does something. It's kind of like trying to steer a big cruise ship. It's not a 90-degree turn. It's a slow process, but they are pouring a ton of money into the research on which way they're going to go, whether it's panelized, modular, or a mix of both. And there's also a lot of companies coming into the country from overseas, like Integra and some of these other companies in the offsite world that are investing a ton of money and a ton of infrastructure into manufacturing plants. And that's just not like our old school. They're bringing robots into it. So there's a lot of robotics starting to come into play here as well, especially with the advancement of BIM and AutoCAD, things of that nature.
So what does that mean to the small to medium home builder, whether they're a production home builder or a custom home builder? What does connect the dots for them? What does what's going on the macro level mean to them?
Yeah. Well, we're all feeling the skilled labor issue out here, right? So if I speak, because I am a small tiered builder, just a little background on that, give everybody an idea. We'll average about 20 to 30 custom on your lot homes this year. We don't do any speculative building. And for us, it allows us the controlled labor costs, right? I don't have change orders on my jobs, and it doesn't matter if it's a first-time home buyer or a couple $1 million build. We don't have change orders on our jobs. So with what's happening with the larger players and the money coming into the market, it's going to make it more competitive, which is then going to drive price, which is going to make things even more affordable for us in this market. Just from a manufacturing standpoint, when you have more competition, manufacturing gets a little bit more competitive. But I see it as, really, it's not a matter of if you're going to do it, it's a matter of when, is what we're kind of seeing out there. We're really behind what's happening in Europe right now. I mean, most of their builds have all gone to manufactured building, and it just makes sense. So I think as this evolves, some people are predicting that this will grow 20% over the next 4 to 5 years. That's big, considering that offsite construction is 3, maybe 5% of the total market right now. A 20% growth in 4 to 5 years, that's a ton. Does it happen? I don't know. That's just, I'm picking it up when I'm at these events at Bloomberg and some of these other things.
Yeah. I was at the Builder Show in Vegas, and it was a consistent theme. Everywhere I went, I saw modular, offsite, some pretty interesting technologies out there, foldable houses that can be laid flat and shipped out. Now, will that catch on? I don't know. But typically when we're talking about cutting edge technology, if they go 145%, then maybe reality is 80%, but it's still going to move. It's going to move the needle quite a bit.
Sure.
So it's not a matter of if, but when. So what would you say to the person who is like, we stick build everything, we don't buy trusses, we don't panelize, we get stacks of lumber and sheathing, and damn it, we build it the way houses should be built? What would you say to them?
Listen, we've been building the same way for 100 years, right? It really doesn't make sense the way we're still doing things. Yeah, it's the old school way. They don't build things, they say, like they used to. But, with the way we're building today, we're building in such fine tolerance levels, right? It's sustainable, it's energy efficient, all of these things. It's a better way to do it. There's no argument that it's a better way to do it. Now, some people may say, well, I can't get as custom as, if I site build, or I can't get the quality. Well, that's to me a little, bogus as well, because it's no different than a site builder. You have some guys that, are really good at what they do and really care about quality and put the attention to detail in. But then I can run around and show you 20 shoddy homes as well. And it's the same thing in our world when it comes to the fit and finish. But from a structural perspective, I mean, these things are built like tanks. They got to ship down the highway at 60 mile an hour.
Right.
So I think it's a mental shift that people have to start having. Modular is not a type of building. It's just a process and how we put it together. That's all it is. So,
yeah, I've done a talk a few times and brought up modular, and I ask people to describe the worst conditions in which to build something. And people say things like, well, it's open to the weather, it's cold, it's maybe surrounded by mud, you're working 20 or 30 feet off the ground, working off generators and dragging cords through. And it's the typical job site is the worst place to build something.
Right.
So, and I ask people, when was the last time you saw somebody set up a sawmill in front of a house and mill their own lumber, or assemble a window on site? It's like, they just don't do it anymore. And we're just on a natural progression toward more and more. We've been prefabricating and building modules of houses and buildings for decades. Now it's just moving on in the next logical step. So what are some of the misconceptions that people have about offsite construction? A lot of people say, it's manufactured housing and it's cheap. That's one. But what are some of the other misconceptions that people need to be aware of as misconceptions?
Yeah. Well, one just that it's not a manufactured home. It's on a manufacturing line, but when you really look at it, and I'll speak just to modular right now. You have basically trailer homes, right? Everybody's familiar with that. They have wheels, and what have you. Then you have manufactured homes, which sit on a steel chassis, right? Usually fall under the HUD code somewhere. And then you have modular, which falls under the same international building codes as any other site-built home out there. So yeah, unfortunately, we have been lumped into that manufactured, quote-unquote, template of thought. But the reality of it is, modular is just a process. The product is exactly 100% the same as any site-built home. Offsite construction in general, I don't think it has been looked at, as quality until really lately, because of the labor issues that we're facing right now, the skilled labor, I really should say. So, and a lot of the big companies have been using offsite, like panelized homes and SIP homes. People know what SIP's building is, and log homes. Even offsite, they pre-built all this stuff. I think the perception is going to change very quickly on this as the people that are really getting into this start putting the marketing dollars behind it to show really what it is. Being, like I said, Offsite being, 3-4% of the entire market, there's only so much marketing dollars. We're not a got milk campaign yet, where the word can get out so people really understand what the terminology and definitions are to truly know what they're looking at. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think from a misconception standpoint, it's really just the vocabulary and definition understanding versus what really, the process and the products are.
Yeah. So what I can see happening is as more and more money gets into the industry, marketing dollars start pouring in, then the narrative starts to change on manufactured housing. Right now, perhaps the perception is, well, stick built is better. And it's only because there hasn't really been any competition. But when Google money and Google expertise and Amazon level money and expertise start getting involved, that narrative will probably change. And then it won't be manufactured, but it will be factory built homes or whatever they come up with. That will be the level of excellence that stick builders are compared to. And that whole narrative will change. Would you agree with that?
Oh, you know what? You hit the nail right on the head. And so Google is already in the offsite modular business. They're building housing for their own employees. And Amazon has also entered it as well, doing the same thing. They're into the offsite business. And you're right, the terminology has already started changing. The production builders call what we do volumetric building.
Volumetric.
That's the key word. As a modular guy, in doing my video stuff, I've been invited to some of these higher end meetings with the CEOs of these big companies. And when I first got there, I want to talk about modular. These guys all know it as, well, it's volumetric. What is So same concept, but that's already started happening. And yes, you will see that. So that was pretty good insight on your part.
Well, blind dog finds a bone every once in a while, I guess. So let's talk about what you do. You're building custom modular homes in some pretty unique conditions. And these are not just small homes. You're building, can you talk about maybe the largest modular home that you've built? How big have you gone?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just this year, we're right around just under 7,000 square feet, with this year's build. And that's kind of our sweet spot is, to stay underneath that, I should say. For us, we like to be in the 2,000 to 3,500 square foot range. But as far as big, I mean, we've had some commercial projects that we've done that, were 10,000, 15,000 square feet as far as that goes. But yeah, for us, we, like I said, we're a custom on your lot builder. So typically if it walks through the door, we're taking a look at it and seeing if it makes sense for our business.
So a 7,000 square foot home, obviously that's not a single box, but what are the constraints? Like what's the biggest module that you can use? And then how is it difficult to design a 7,000 square foot custom home in modules?
No, it's not. So if you think about any house, it's really a bunch of squares and modules and rectangles, right? No matter how you look at it, it's all broken up that way. So we have to think about it definitely a little bit differently. We carry our weight loads differently with engineering and so forth because we are building in sections. But it doesn't limit me from having a 30-foot by 30-foot great room with 20-foot ceilings. So that stuff doesn't limit me. It's the same as a site builder. As long as I can get my span with my microlams or loads that I need to carry it, then it works. In the Northeast, and it's important that I say this for your listeners because it's not the same as it is in the South and Midwest transportation-wise. We have a very old infrastructure up here. The roads, the bridges are low, things of that nature. So for us, our max shipping height on a module on a truck is around 14 feet height. And our max shipping width is 15 feet 9 inches wide. So With that said, we said, well, that's not a big house. Well, to get a 40-foot wide house, well, you just need to put 3 or 4 modules, give or take, together to get that wide span. That doesn't mean you have to have walls down the center of all these either. It can be open spaces just like any other house. But most people, unless you're really in the business and get it, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between what I do and any site builder does.
And just for comparison, a 7,000 square foot house, from the time it takes from foundation to being under roof, 7,000 square foot modular home versus stick framed, what's the time difference?
So if I have a foundation in, and we'll talk about the process here in a second, I'm typically about 120 days to moving my customer in from the time I put that house on a foundation. And that's typically within 2 weeks of that foundation curing and being able to accept the weight loads of the house.
120 days.
And great?
If you had to stick build that 7,000 square foot house, it might take 30 to 45 days just to frame it.
Yeah, most stick builders, 9 months to a year and a half, depending on what it is, and how many projects they have going, obviously. But
yeah,
the value with us and the difference is, while we're doing the foundation, we actually have a whole lot of the house being built simultaneously in the manufacturing plant. So we're kind of doing 2 things at one time versus one step, then the next step.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned the narrow infrastructure in the Northeast, but one of the other challenges is you build houses on islands.
We do.
So talk about what are some of the things that might surprise people, some of the surprising challenges about building a house on an island. What are the challenges and how do you get around them?
It's logistics, right? And with the islands, typically islands mean tourist seasons, right? So as great as it sounds, we're building on an island. Typically, we're not doing it in the beautiful summer weather of New England, right? We're usually out in these islands in the spring, fall, and winter. But with that said, we barge. We have barges that take houses over. We have a private island this year that we're doing. So the only thing on that island is a couple horses, goats, and a house that burned down, and we're replacing that. And that requires us to actually hire a barge company to get all of our stuff there. Block Island, Fisher's Island, some of the larger islands off the coast that are pretty well known. We use the ferry service. We can get over on the ferry service. The boats are really big. They handle taking loads over all the time. But there are some constraints. We can't get the same size modules to the island that we can ship on the mainland just because of boat sizes. Right? Dock size is getting off these boats to the ferry. It's not like you can pull up in 10 different places. You have 1 or 2 access points on the whole island, and that's it. But yeah, we averaged quite a few homes, and this year we're actually doing a whole bunch of hotel stuff over there this year. We're building a bunch of cottages for 2 of the hotels. But it's fun. The logistics of it are fun. It sounds like fun, but going back and forth gets old pretty quick too.
Yeah, you don't want to forget something back on the mainland because there's no just running back to get it. Let's talk about business opportunity. What are the underserved problems right now in the modular, in the offsite space that would make for a good business opportunity that somebody who's got an entrepreneurial itch might capitalize on?
The underserved market. That's a really good question, and I'm wondering if I'm even tapping into that. Right now we don't have a whole lot of competition in our world, in the modular world. There's a few guys, and girls out there that are doing it, and but we're not all created equal. I think to me, the undertapped portion of this business is, one, we go back to that misconception, of modular being of less quality and, like a manufactured home, what have you. Finding people that want to come into this business and put the same quality and care as they do when they build a really beautiful custom home is probably the undertapped market that's going to get the most attention here in the future.
Got it.
The folks out there that really do a great job, and then they know how to pay attention to detail and take it to the next level. And then obviously we don't dabble too much in the commercial world, but the commercial world is a huge growth opportunity for offsite construction and modular. And there's definitely not enough people to keep up with what's coming there.
Yeah, I heard an interesting, some interesting information last week. I'm a member of the Associated Builders and Contractors in the Cincinnati area, and the president, John Morris, who was on episode 95 of this podcast. If you want to listen to an interesting conversation about the skilled labor issue, go listen to episode 95. But John had been to a conference from the CURT organization, the Construction Users Roundtable. These are big commercial buyers, Procter & Gamble's, Toyota, General Electric. And they basically said, the projects are taking too long, and we as the owners, project owners, we're going to push initiatives that will reduce project costs by like 30 to 50% and reduce project durations by 50%. And we're going to push prefabrication offsite because projects are just too expensive and they're taking too long. So it's coming from the commercial side. When these big buyers of billions of dollars of projects say you're going to use offsite construction, then you're going to use offsite construction. So if you're a commercial contractor and you're listening thinking, this is just residential, it's coming. It's going to start with the big companies. Just like 20, 25 years ago, big buyers started saying, you know what, safety is important to us. We want to see your safety records, and we're going to only invite qualified commercial contractors who have good safety records because there's a business case for it, and you may not see the value in it, but we do. So fix it. Yeah. And that's when projects started getting safe. The same thing is going to happen in the commercial space with offsite and modular. Absolutely. Yeah.
For right. Sure. The efficiencies that, for commercial, building these hotels, for instance, it's the same thing over and over and over and over again, right? It's not a custom one-off build. Mm-hmm. And as these big companies like Marriott's in the hotel industry, and I think Dunkin' Donuts is doing it now, those efficiencies are only going to get better and better as they figure it out on their own. And that's exactly what's going to happen. They're really going to see a time. Just think of the time savings. You do a hotel in half the time and start renting those rooms. That's a big return on your investment.
Absolutely. So back to that business opportunity question. Yeah. Maybe if you're a general contractor, you can go to the hotels and retail folks and say, I want to work out a solution to speed up your projects and shorten the cycle by using offsite, prefabrication, modular, et cetera, because it would be better to get ahead of the curve than to be disrupted and be left behind. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Let's talk about, before we get into video and social media, what was one of your most educational mistakes you've made in business? I always like to ask people this question.
Yeah, that is a good question. I think the biggest educational mistake that I made in business was probably 2008 during the recession. I bet on myself and didn't follow my numbers, right? That was one of my biggest mistakes when I was, younger in the business. Things were going great up until 2008. The market was wonderful, and then everything crashed on us. Just like a lot of people, I put a whole lot of effort into trying to push the business forward as opposed to paying attention to what my books were telling me. And quite frankly, I lost. I lost. And now the value out of that for me, I am so in tune to our finances and numbers, and so in tune to paying attention to detail on every job. So it was a learning experience as well. But yeah, I think like my grandfather, I may have said this to you once before, always told me, he goes, you're going to pay for an education one way or the other. Whether you go to school or you hire somebody to teach you, or you're going to go and just try and do it thinking you know it all, you're going to get your back end handed to you one way or the other. You're going to pay for it. I paid for it. So, but I think that was probably one of my biggest mistakes, was not looking at the data and really understanding it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've certainly paid for my education, and those are lessons that that I don't forget.
Yeah,
And I've heard it said, "Success does not a good teacher make,"
that's right.
and
Well,
that's for sure.
yeah. And you know what? The other thing you learned is, if, as an entrepreneur and builders and what have you, if you're not prepared to bleed, don't do it. That's what they say, right?
Mm.
If you're not prepared to take the stabs and the wounds, but if you keep getting up and brushing yourself off and getting back to it and take it as a learning experience, even when it's really tough, that's when you succeed. At least that's what I've been finding in my world. And it's not all roses today either, but I'm a lot wiser than I
Yeah.
was.
So how did you get through? How did you get back up after the 2008 fall? What did you tell yourself? How did you just keep going?
Well, I mean, I think I called myself stupid a million times over the course of it, just in my own head. But you know, listen, when 2008 happened, and this will give you a little personal. My we just had twins, literally twin babies. My wife lost her job 1 month going back to. She used to work for IZOD, and they laid a bunch of people off. And for me, I had an obligation to provide for my family. And I did the corporate world at one time when I got out of the service and all that. And I knew where I wanted to be, and I knew that I could do it. I was doing it up until the '08 crash. I got through all the debt that I had to deal with. I was still selling homes and building, but it just wasn't on the same scale. I called everybody that I owed money to at that time, and we talked through how I was going to pay him back. And that was the biggest thing. You got to keep your word to everybody. And it's amazing, all the people that I worked with over the years, and we're out there selling and providing jobs for people all the time. It was amazing the amount of help that I received from all those people. And just asking for help and working through it, it actually built my spirits back up. Because morally I was doing the right thing. My integrity was intact. You find out when you talk to other people that you're not an island out here on your own. There was a lot of people really struggling and hurting, right? And then slowly it just started building itself back up. My confidence started building back up again, and here we are today. We're back at it, and like I said, we're better for it, for sure.
Yeah. So I know there are people listening some of whom are clients of mine, who are going through a really tough time. Either they've had a rough year, a couple of rough projects, and they're in the low spot. What would you say to them to encourage them?
Yeah, sometimes you got to listen, right, and get out of the way. You can get really stuck and focused on just what your issue is at the time and not see the bigger picture. And trying to step back and look at the bigger picture to make sound decisions. And maybe that means taking a couple of days off and a break and just getting your head together. But my mom always said, this too shall end. And listen, hope doesn't pay the bills, and I get it. But fortitude and trying to work through it and picking up the phone and talking to people, and not cowering because another bill person's calling you, and coming up with a game plan. I mean, that's what you do, and then follow the plan. That's what we did.
Yeah, that's good advice. I know I was there when my business went south. Similar situation. Had young kids. My oldest daughter was just diagnosed as autistic, and then later on with another condition. We're in the hospital with seizures. My wife's brother was killed in a car wreck, all about the same time. It was a perfect storm. And like everywhere I looked around, everything was just on fire. Yeah. And it's easy just to be hopeless in that situation. But you just have to me, if you can take control of your narrative, take control of the story you're telling yourself, even if it's kind of delusional, then that's much more productive than just wallowing in misery and talking about how bad it's going to be. And then just take action. Do what you can with what you've got, where you're at, and that's really it. But yeah, that is a bad situation. But I've been through it. There's hope on the other side. You can get through it, but you It's like there's some corny country song. If you're going through hell, then just pick up the pace. Let's get through it as quick as you can.
There you go. Right.
Don't stay there.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about video. What has vlogging or video logging or doing these video productions done for your business? And then what are you actually doing when it comes to video?
Well, it started about 3 years ago almost now, when we have a social media person, and she said to me, Dave, you gotta do video. And I said, I'm not doing video. She goes, no, you got to go out there. Not only do I have to do the video, she said, you got to do a live feed. Like, what's a live feed? Like live feed, like there's no retakes, because that's where the marketing was heading. So I went to one of our homes that we were building for a customer, and I must have walked around that place for 3 hours trying to get up the courage to hold my phone out in front of me, because I'm so worried what people are going to think, here's
Right.
this guy. But lo and behold, I did it. And not only did I do one, I've done, I don't know how many now, a ton of them. But what started happening over time, and it didn't happen right away, but after about 12 months and several videos, it started transforming the way I worked with people. Because now people would walk in the door, and the first thing they'd say, hey, you're that guy on video, or you're the guy on TV. I had an instant connection with them, right? Because I'm doing this vlogging, and I'm walking around saying, hey, this is a standard Connecticut Valley Homes, product. This isn't our standard spec, that type of thing. So I started doing it and started educating people on our product. And then what really became powerful is I would stand there with our customers, and just be like, hey, would you do a quick live interview with me? And then the testimonials started beginning. So it decreased our sales cycle probably by about 2 to 3 visits. We have people that will walk in and give us check for deposit, on day one. And they do nothing but teach me about everything I said in my videos. Well, I saw this one and I saw this one, right? Which is a great thing, because we're in the relationship business.
Right.
And for all of us out there, our goal is to not get eliminated. Everybody's shopping us online. And your goal in the first meeting is not to get eliminated, and to get them in the door so you can have that face-to-face meeting. And that's one of the things the video has done for us very, very well. It builds a bond. All of a sudden you become an expert to these people.
Right.
And that's powerful.
Yeah. One thing I've learned is, by the time you actually talk to someone, by the time they speak with you, they've already done 50 to 70% of their research, and 50 to 70% of the buying decision has been made. Whereas 20 years ago, that process started with the first phone call. But by the time you get a phone call today, I have people that contact me, and they've decided that we're going to work together.
Yeah.
And I've never spoken with them before, but it's because they've been listening to the podcast for months or years in some cases, and they just finally decided. So yeah, and video is even better. This is something that I've started doing probably since you and I talked a couple of months ago, is just get out there. So if somebody is where you were 3 years ago saying, no, no, I'm not going to do video, how can they get started? I mean, we're not talking about production videos, hiring a crew, doing a lot of editing and production stuff. What are the first couple of things you would advise them to do to get started?
Yeah. It's funny. Everybody has a video in their pocket today. Most people don't realize it. The trade secret's going to come out. I have the fancy video equipment that I do for like live videos when I'm set up, but I would say 90% of my video is me just holding my phone out in front of my face. I may have it on a little tripod just to get a bit of distance, and I put a micro lab on so my voice is good, especially on a job site. But you just have to get the courage to not think so much about what people may think. Just go out there and do it, because reality TV is big for a reason. People are tired of the canned information, the setup production information. Going out there and showing people that you're a real human being, and if you slip up on your word here and there, that's real. That's what people want. and that's genuine. And that's who somebody wants to work with, at least in my business when you're in construction, because we're all dirty, thieves, in a lot of people's minds. They hear all the horror stories. Just do it. Pull it out of your pocket. The power is in your pocket is my lecture that I do out in Vegas. Power is in your pocket. Pull it out, hold it in front of you. And it doesn't just have to be your job site. If you want, you could do it about the product. Use James Hardie siding or your flooring, and get the rep involved. And just do a quick interview. And I think that it's not hard to do. The hard part is just getting over yourself and doing it. That's what most people struggle with.
The first 2 or 3 or 10, they're going to suck.
Yeah.
But the only way to get through those is just to do them and get over it. And I can tell you, people aren't thinking about you as much as you think they are.
Yeah, they're not. We're more full of ourselves than most people really care to think about us.
We have the attention span of a goldfish, and there's so much stuff out there that if you mess something up, nobody's going to pay any attention. They'll forget about it. And actually, if you think about, there's some interesting marketing. Think about the what was it, Miss Universe a few years ago. Steve Harvey, he read the wrong name, so it was a mistake.
Yeah, you're right.
But think about the attention. I mean, there are a million people who didn't know anything about Miss Universe until that. They're like, oh my gosh, can you believe this guy read the wrong name and they put the crown on the wrong woman? Hey, it was attention though, and it got people talking. So I think
it was on all the news. Yeah.
I think mistakes and slip-ups, sometimes they're staged because they get attention. Look at YouTube. It's filled with thousands of fail videos, right? But
yeah,
people are watching it. So I'm not suggesting you walk around and fall off scaffolds or anything on a job site, but authenticity. People crave authenticity. They crave real connection. So what can people talk about? Let's say somebody's at the job site right now listening, or they're sitting in their truck. They're going to walk out and say they're a home builder, or a commercial general contractor. What's something they can shoot a video on?
Yeah, I mean, it could be as simple, if you're a home builder, it could be as simple as the countertop you're putting into your houses, right? Or it could be as simple as how you're doing your framing and your headers and the lumber that you use. The reality of it is, though, the sizzle comes when you talk about the finished product, right? The guys love kicking the tires, but the reality of it is, in my world, the women make 70, 80, 90% of all the decisions, all of them.
My world too.
And they're good at it, But, for me personally, I'm always trying to talk about the cabinets, the floors, how beautiful my trim is, the hardware we're using, the time it takes me to build a house, saying, hey, we're going to have this done in 120 days, right? And then following up with that, not only the 120 days, but with a customer testimonial saying, hey, we love you. They got their arm around you. These are all the things you can talk about. But to start off, it could be a minute long. Hey, listen, we're at our job site today, and I'm standing here. I got a 3,000 square foot home behind me. We just started this project. Our timeline to finish is XYZ date. As you can see, the quality of what we're putting into this, the guys all have hard hats and their safety bracing on, all of that stuff. It just shows you care. And I think you just do little things like that. Stay tuned. I'll bring you updated, videos throughout the project when we do something fun that I think you'll find interesting.
Yeah.
I'm Dave Cooper. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. What people really need to know is, we used to be a destination business, like you alluded to before. They come to model homes and stuff. Now they shop us online. They get off their third shift at 5 a.m. They're drinking their coffee. They decide they want to buy a house. You're going to put videos up there. You're not going to have a bunch of likes and followers like you think you're going to have, right? We're not Casey Neistat or a politician or where people are following every word. They want what they want when they're ready for it in our world. They want to build a house. That doesn't mean they want to know what you're doing for the next 20 years. They're just trying to gather that information at that time. And that's the value of it. So putting that out there, don't do it and watch your views and likes. Do it because they're going to be watching. They may not like and follow you because they don't want you to know they're liking and following you, but they're definitely going to watch. So
That's great advice. Don't look at results, because typically the results are going to disappoint you. You're going to get frustrated and you're going to quit. So if you're posting stuff and you're like, oh, I've posted 2 videos in the last 3 weeks and I haven't sold a house yet. Well, yeah, you're going to get frustrated. So just looking at it as a long game. You're a publisher. I have to tell people, like, hey, you're in the media business. You happen to build stuff, but you're in the marketing business. You're a media publisher, and that's just what you do. It has to be part of your business today. That's just the reality.
Yeah, and listen, you putting out marketing and a lot of people are out there doing the marketing, right? And the crazy thing is that all the studies have shown that the people out there 50% more people will watch video than read the text, right? So I mean, it's a huge, it's huge. In fact, I'm going to look right now because I was looking at it today again just to pull it up because it's constantly changing. Video content is 50 times more likely to drive organic search results than plain text will, right? Here's the powerful stuff. 20% of people will read the text, but 80% of people will watch a video. That's a huge swing. And especially if you add captions to it, because they're all sitting at work, and if you put it up there where they can read what you're saying, then that's really where the power comes in.
Yeah. So we've shot some simple videos. Where should we put these videos? Should we start a YouTube channel? Should we be on Facebook? Where's the most bang for the buck?
Yeah, all the above. But for me, it started on YouTube. I do a ton on LinkedIn now, but I'm also doing a lot of B2B stuff with my video stuff now. But YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, those are the hot places to have it up. I think Instagram's even one of the hottest places right now to start doing this, and I don't do enough of it there. Kind of set in my ways. I got so much going on, but Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube by far, in everything you do, your signatures, on emails, have links to these things. You do a video, add it to your signature line in your email when you're following up with somebody. Hey, check out these videos. A lot of people even come into our office still, they don't know I'm doing videos. You get some of the older empty nesters coming in or what have you, and I point them to it, and then my next meeting is a whole nother conversation with them. But
yeah, video is an absolutely great way to indoctrinate folks. Maybe after a first conversation, put together a simple video series, and hey, I'm going to send you a few videos over the next couple of days, and then let them go through that indoctrination sequence, learn more about you, learn more about what you do, maybe hear from some other customers, and it automates the sales process a lot.
It does. And you want to know what I'm doing right now that's been really powerful? And I haven't been doing it long, but the feedback's been phenomenal. After my meeting, because everybody, even on their computers, instead of writing an email, I do a little video and saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, it was great seeing you today. These are the takeaways that I got from my meeting. These are the follow-ups that, I promised that I would get to you. These are some items that you said you were going to get to me, but I just really wanted to thank you personally for coming in and spending your time with me, because I know how valuable that is. If you have any questions, don't feel you need to video me, but, just send me an email or call or text, and that's it. And it's so personalized that it just takes it through the moon with them. I get a response on every single one.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what platform or app do you use for those video messages?
Yeah, I'm just, on my laptop, I'm just using my FaceTime, QuickBooks. I use Google Hangouts, just whatever I can.
Got it. And
sometimes I'll just shoot it on my phone and just, send it to myself and then attach it to the video or attach it to the email.
Got it. Cool. That's a great idea. I've seen recently on LinkedIn has the ability to send an audio message and even send a video message. So instead of text message, you can record a video and send it to somebody on LinkedIn. So if you're trying to build your B2B presence, then that might be a good way to do it. Good stuff. All right. We are running out of time.
Oh, man, I was just getting started.
Me too. We may have to do a part 2 at some point. Well, let's leave people hanging. Let's build in some intrigue. There are lots of other fascinating topics that we can talk about. But if people want to find out more about what you're up to with your custom home building, with the video stuff you're doing, connect with you, where should they go?
Yeah, so with our business, it's Connecticut Valley Homes, so it'd be ctvalleyhomes.com if you want to check us out there. For the video work, I'm just in the process of building out this new website, but you can go to davecooper.live. That's davecooper.live. So there'll be a lot coming, but if it's a lot of business people, LinkedIn, by far. I got so much content going up on LinkedIn right now just because I am doing a lot of B2B outside of just my business stuff. But you can look me up in all those places, YouTube, LinkedIn, somewhere I'm out there.
Guarantee it.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I'll have links to this. I'll have all those links in the show notes. Hang on until the end of the podcast, and I'll tell you where you can find that out. But this was great, Dave. I appreciate you taking the time to be on here. And look forward to running into you again sometime soon in person.
Yeah, I'm sure our paths will cross, Todd. It's been wonderful. Thanks for having me.
All right, be sure to check out what David's up to at ctvalleyhomes.com or davecooper.live. Go check him out on LinkedIn. Hook up with him. He's a great guy. I've met him in person. Very generous guy, and he's doing some really interesting stuff. So take advantage of what he has offered. And don't forget, if you want to offload your bookkeeping headaches because you hate it or you just suck at it and you should be doing something else, then check out what the Apparatus Contractor Services team can do for you. Lots of other construction business owners have offloaded their headaches, and they absolutely think it's one of the best things they ever did. So go to constructionleadingedge.com/headache. You can see a video about what they do. You can fill out a form to request some more information. Or if you're driving, all you got to do is send a text to 859-667-2015, and I will send you the information. I'll make the introduction and help you out. And hey, I appreciate all the ratings and reviews. If you could take a minute, if you get value out of this podcast, and go leave a rating or review, especially on iTunes, that helps get the word out there. Or maybe even better, if you could share this podcast with somebody else in the construction industry who is passionate about leadership, passionate about business, and they want to do good stuff, then share this episode with them, share one of your favorite episodes with them, and let's spread the word. I appreciate all the messages, the notes, connecting with me on LinkedIn, following my Facebook page, and I will see you next time.